The theater lights were bright, almost too bright for a boy who had spent most of his life avoiding attention. He stood quietly at the edge of the stage, toes pressed against the cold floor, feeling every vibration of the massive room beneath his feet. The crowd murmured, unsure what to expect. On talent shows, people are used to confidence, costumes, backup stories neatly packaged for television. What they were not used to was a child who looked like he had wandered in from another world, carrying nothing but a worn soul and a borrowed microphone. The host knelt down to his level and asked the usual questions. His name was Miguel. He was from a small coastal town in the Philippines. When asked where his parents were, Miguel hesitated. The pause was long enough to make the audience uneasy. Finally, he said softly that they were not there. Not today. Not ever again. His voice did not crack. It didn't need to. The silence around him cracked instead. Simon Cowell leaned forward, already curious, already guarded. He had seen thousands of kids with sad stories. He had learned the hard way that emotion alone doesn't make a performance unforgettable. Talent does. And yet, there was something about this boy's stillness that felt different. He wasn't trying to win sympathy. He looked like he had come to deliver something and then disappear. Miguel explained that he had learned to sing by listening to old songs played on a broken radio in a neighbor's hotel. Tourists came and went, leaving behind echoes of music and half-finished melodies. One song stayed with him more than any other. Hotel California. He didn't understand all the words when he first heard it, but he understood the feeling. A place that looks welcoming, but once you're inside, leaving is not so simple. For a child who had grown up too fast, the song felt like a mirror. The judges exchanged glances. Choosing a legendary song was risky, especially one so iconic to American audiences. Covers fail more often than they succeed. Simon raised an eyebrow and asked him why that song. Miguel replied with a line that no one expected. He said the song sounded like being trapped between hope and reality, like wanting to go home but not knowing where home is anymore. That answer landed harder than any dramatic backstory video ever could. The music started. A stripped-down arrangement, slower than the original, almost haunting. Miguel closed his eyes, took a breath, and began. The first notes came out fragile, almost trembling. A few people in the audience shifted uncomfortably. Simon's expression stayed unreadable. This was the moment where most dreams end quietly. But then something changed. Miguel's voice grew steadier, deeper, carrying a weight that didn't belong to a child his age. It wasn't loud. It wasn't flashy. It was honest. And honesty, when it hits just right, is impossible to ignore. By the second verse, the room felt different. Conversations stopped. Phones lowered. Even the cameras seemed to move more carefully, as if afraid to interrupt what was happening. Miguel wasn't performing anymore. He was remembering. Every note carried a piece of his life. Nights sleeping on wooden floors. Days helping fishermen instead of going to school. Moments of joy stolen from radio songs drifting through hotel hallways he was never meant to walk down. Halfway through the performance, there was an unexpected twist. Miguel opened his eyes and looked straight at Simon Cowell. Not in defiance. Not in fear. In recognition. As if he knew Simon was the gatekeeper of dreams and disappointments, and he was ready for either. That look alone sent a ripple through the audience. Simon didn't look away. As the song built toward its emotional peak, Miguel altered the melody slightly, adding a subtle vocal run that wasn't in the original. It was risky. Purists hate changes. But this wasn't about perfection. This was about survival. The judges noticed immediately. One of them whispered, that was his. It was the moment the song stopped being a cover and became a confession. Then came the quietest part. Miguel pulled back, almost to a whisper. You could hear people breathing. Somewhere in the back, someone sniffed. The boy finished the final note and let it fade naturally, not forcing an ending, trusting the silence to do the rest. For a few seconds, no one clapped. That silence was not confusion. It was impact. Then the room exploded. The audience rose to their feet as one. Cheers, applause, people shouting his name. Miguel looked startled, as if the noise physically pushed him backward. He bowed awkwardly, unsure what to do with praise he had never known how to accept. The judges stood too. All of them. Except Simon. Simon Cowell remained seated, hands clasped, staring at the stage. The crowd noticed. The tension returned instantly. This was the twist no one expected. Had the performance not been enough? Had the risk backfired? The applause slowly faded. The host glanced nervously toward the judge's table. Finally, Simon picked up his microphone. He didn't speak right away. When he did, his voice was softer than usual. He said he had heard that song more times than he could count, sung by legends, by stars, by people with everything going for them. And yet, he admitted, he had never heard it sound like that. He paused, visibly searching for words. Simon Cowell, the man known for destroying dreams with a sentence, was struggling to articulate what he felt. He said that Miguel didn't just sing the song. He lived inside it. And then he said something that stunned everyone. He said that sometimes talent comes polished and prepared, and sometimes it arrives barefoot, asking to be believed. Miguel's eyes filled with tears for the first time that night. But the biggest twist was still coming. Simon explained that he had initially planned to be harsh. He had written notes before the performance even started, skeptical of another sad story, another risky song choice. He admitted this openly. The audience gasped. Transparency like that was rare. Simon tore up the notes on camera and dropped them on the table. Then he stood. The room erupted again, even before he spoke. Simon said that what mattered most was not what Miguel had lost, but what he still carried. Courage, discipline, and a voice that could travel across oceans. He told Miguel that this stage was not a hotel he had to check out of. It was a door. And tonight, it was open. The judges voted yes unanimously. Miguel collapsed to his knees, overwhelmed. Crew members rushed in, unsure if this was celebration or shock. It was both. Backstage, cameras followed him as he sat quietly, still barefoot, holding a cup of water with shaking hands. A producer asked what he would do if he won. Miguel didn't say money. He didn't say fame. He said he wanted to build a small school near the beach where kids like him wouldn't have to choose between work and dreams. That answer sealed it. In the days that followed, the video spread like wildfire across the United States. People shared it not because it was flashy, but because it felt real. Veterans commented that the song reminded them of coming home changed. Immigrants said they finally felt seen. Parents hugged their children a little tighter. But fame has its own twists. As Miguel advanced in the competition, pressure mounted. Critics emerged, accusing the show of exploiting his story. Others questioned whether a child should carry such emotional weight on a public stage. The comments section turned into a battlefield. Miguel stayed silent until the semi-finals. That night, instead of another dramatic song, he chose something simple. A melody from his hometown, unfamiliar to most Americans. No story package. No explanations. Just music. It was a quiet act of rebellion, a reminder that he was more than a moment. Simon smiled before the song even ended. When Miguel didn't win the final, the internet exploded again. Outrage. Conspiracy theories. Disappointment. But Miguel surprised everyone one last time. In his exit interview, he said winning was never the goal. Being heard was. And that had already happened. Months later, footage surfaced of Miguel back in the Philippines, still barefoot, singing to children under a tin roof classroom funded by donations from fans around the world. No stage lights. No judges. Just voices rising together. Simon Cowell watched that video in his office. He reportedly replayed it twice. Sometimes, the most shocking performances don't end on stage. They continue in lives changed quietly, far away from applause. Miguel's journey began with no shoes, no parents, and a song that belonged to another time. It ended with a reminder that music doesn't belong to anyone. It finds who needs it most.